This what if story will contain major spoilers, not just for the end of the Thousand Year Blood War, but events that follow afterwards as well. Hey guys, Sterling here, and we are diving right into this one. This might be the most grim, yet most exciting what-if story we have ever explored on this channel. And that's what if Ichigo was forced to become the next Soul King. Now, just that sentence alone holds so much weight, because if that were to actually happen, then essentially it would mean a horrific fate for our hero Ichigo. Pretty much the worst possible thing that could happen to him. But there's so much more that goes into it than just that. It would also mean all the other characters in Bleach are forced to make an incredibly hard decision. Side with Zero Squad or essentially rebel and try to find a way to save Ichigo and the three worlds. How would Kisuke react? How would Head Captain Kuraku react? Of course, Rukia and Renji are going to have a huge problem with this. I've been wanting to explore this what if for a long time now because of how much fun could come from a story such as this. We get to explore Zero Division and their shady actions in history. We get to explore of all our favorite characters and how they would react to their friend and comrade Ichigo being sealed and all their actions that would follow afterwards. Guys, this is about to be a ton of fun. It's pretty much an all-out war for Ichigo, a war to save Ichigo in all three worlds. So as always, guys, let's dive right into this and let me paint you a picture. Our what-if story picks up immediately after Ichigo's finishing blow that would ultimately put an end to the maniacal Quincy King's reign of terror. Ichigo drops to one knee in exhaustion, thinking to himself, "Is it truly over? Did we defeat?" But before Ichigo could finish his thought, an old weathered voice breaks the eerie stillness in the air, as if he had been reading Ichigo's mind, and utters the words, "Yes, Ichigo, it is over. You have defeated the rebellious child Yuha. But there is one more problem that must be fixed. Only a problem that you, Ichigo Kurosaki, can handle." Ichigo didn't have to turn around. He knew whose voice it was, for he had spoken the man's name hours before, for he was the man who had named everything, Ichibei Hausabe. "Do you know why we are here, Ichigo? If so, you know your job is not yet finished. Do you still wish to protect what's dear to you?" Alright guys, there you have it. There is our initial setup for our what-if story, and I thought the beginning of this was absolutely incredible, because here we have Ichigo, and he's just finished off the strongest opponent that him and Soul Society has ever had to face, and now he has Zero Division on the scene, and Ichibei is giving Ichigo a choice here. Now, it's still very sinister, because he's using Ichigo's need to protect against him. Now, what's interesting here is, does Ichigo know that he was being groomed to possibly be the next Soul King? Now, obviously, Kuraku knew this, but did Ichigo know this? I find this as an extremely interesting question because of the training that Ichigo did in the Arazun Sandor. Now, that training was extremely ancient, and he actually I believe communicates with the Soul King. Now, what the Soul King showed him or told him is still a mystery. We're going to find that out in the next season of the anime. But I still find this confrontation right now between Ichigo and Ichibei to be completely fascinating. Because like I said, whether Ichigo knows it or not, we have this ancient being in Ichibei that's coming down after the defeat of Yuha and telling Ichigo, like, hey, there's still more to be done here. And obviously what he's referring to is the three worlds are about to collapse on each other. So Ichigo is faced with a massive decision here. Now, guys, I want to know down in the comments below, what all do you think Ichigo knows about the Soul King? I mean, I'm assuming that the Soul King communicated with him and showed him the ritual, obviously, that made him into the Soul King that we know today. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you think Ichigo going into this final battle with Yuha, when he follows Uryu and Yuha up into the royal palace, do you think he goes into this battle with the knowledge that he may have to become the Soul King if the Soul King were to go down, obviously, to Yuha? Now tell me in the comments below, guys, what do you think all those mysteries pertain? How much do you think Ichigo knows? It's very fun to think about, and I want to hear what you guys think. Now let's get back into this story and back into this extremely fun confrontation between Ichigo and Ichibei. So my training, did you know it would come to this? Ichigo asks calmly as he finally turns around and looks at Ichibei. No, I didn't, but I knew it was a possibility. Although the Soul King is the ultimate linchpin, keeping the three worlds together, maintaining the cycle of death, I knew that it was possible to create, per se, a backup pin, a being that would act as a secondary pin if the Soul King were to fall. You are that pin, Ichigo. All right, guys, I can't help myself. I have to jump back in. This conversation would be extremely stimulating, so powerful. Like, if this was animated, we would be on the edge of our seats because Ichigo would be pretty much given an ultimatum here. Now, obviously, I know that Yuha becomes the linchpin moving forward, but in this what if, we're going to say that Ichigo just completely decimates Yuha. There is no more Yuha, and he has to make a choice whether or not he's going to become the new linchpin. Now, knowing Ichigo, he's going to say yes right away. And if not, Ichibei will persuade him. He's going to more or less tell Ichigo, like, hey, the world before the three realms were separated was absolutely chaotic, and the Soul King did what he did to more or less save everyone. Do you want everyone you know in the world of the living to just be decimated by hollows and it just be a chaotic world the rest of existence? No life, no death. Like, he would explain to Ichigo, like, hey, there's really no other way here, and like, yeah, you're a great kid. Like, it's not that I dislike you or anything, but you need to become the new pin to save the world. Now, like I said, this would be extremely powerful, and this scene, animated or drawn, would be absolutely incredible because Ichigo would more or less be like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, I'm not going to let my friends and family suffer. Like, if I can stop that, it doesn't matter what will happen to me. Now, all of us fans, obviously, watching this, if it were to be animated, we'd all be like, no, Ichigo, because becoming the Soul King and the ritual that pretty much turns you into that linchpin is so horrifying. Now, I don't even really want to get into specifics on YouTube, obviously, but guys, you know what happens. They just decimated the Soul King, just leave him as a husk and put him in that chrysalis-like state, and he just sets above Sarete up in the royal palace, acting as the linchpin forever. I mean, it has to be completely agonizing, and it would be a horrific fate for Ichigo. But he would do it gladly if it meant saving all his friends, all the Gote, keeping their lives going as they know it, and Ichigo being the reason why everyone gets to live a peaceful life. He would be 100% okay with it, and what he would ultimately do is go with Ichibei and Zero Squad to begin the ritual to become the new Soul King. Now, guys, like I said, this would be incredibly powerful. How do you think this would go down? Do you think Ichigo would have any reservations? Do you think he would try to fight Zero Division? Ultimately, if he did fight Zero Division, do you think Ichibei could more or less take Ichigo down and then drag him up to the Soul Palace? Now, obviously, I don't think that part would happen. I think Ichigo would gladly go, but I want to know, how do you guys think this would go down? Now, before we get into the really fun part of this what if and the bulk of the what if, I do want to touch on the moment where Ichigo does actually go through with the ritual and Zero Squad seals him as the Soul King. It would be extremely sad. The substitute Soul Reaper, the boy that was there for everyone, has saved the world on countless occasions, must save the world one more time by offering up himself. Guys, like I said, this would be extremely sad. This scene would be insane as Ichigo sacrifices himself. As a Bleach fan, I may just shed some tears, but it would be extremely powerful. Now, the fun adventure part of this story starts after all this. So Ichigo has made the ultimate sacrifice, and all three realms are now stable. The life is going to go on as normal, just without substitute Soul Reaper Ichigo Kurosaki. But like I said, our what if does get fun and exciting, and we move into some action portion of it. So let's get back into the story after a very powerful moment from our main character. Some time has passed since the day Ichigo Kurosaki made the ultimate sacrifice. Our location is now the First Company Barracks. The head captain's room is full of familiar faces. Uryu, Orihime, Chad, many captains, and even some visitors from Wako Mundo. An angry Rukia Kuchiki screams at the new head captain. "He was our friend. How could you let this happen? He has been there for us through everything. How did this happen?" Alright guys, some time has passed, and like I just explained in the story, everyone that knew Ichigo has pretty much gathered in the First Company Barracks, along with Kuraku, obviously the head captain, and even people like Nell, Grimjow, Holly Bell, Strong Arankar that obviously knew Ichigo. They're all there. They all know the news, and they obviously want to do something about it. But the smart people in the room, people like Kuraku, people like Uehara, they know that there's a way to go about this. Now, guys, this is where the what if gets extremely fun, because what's going to happen is minds are going to come together here, okay? Kuraku's obviously going to take the beating from Rukia, not beating physically, but she's going to be mad at him, and he's more or less going to be like, "Hey, look, I'm the head captain, like I can't just stop my duties and like rebel against Squad Zero." And what Ichigo did, he chose. Now, Renji was on the scene. He saw it all. So he'd have to explain to Rukia, like, hey, Ichigo went with them. Like, this was his choice. And, like, Uehara would also explain to everyone, like, guys, if Ichigo didn't do this, then all three worlds would have crumbled. So the decision was made, and it's happened. But that doesn't mean that we have to let it remain a thing. And this is where, like I said, the what if gets fun, because what I think would happen is Kuraku and Uehara would obviously put together some sort of team, a team that is dedicated to saving Ichigo, like kind of in private per se, because they have to keep the Serete calm. There's just been a massive war. Obviously, the Quincy's invaded. Serete is in a rough place. And obviously, if anyone knew that Gote 13 members were planning some massive rebellion, or even if they knew the Soul King wasn't a thing at all, it would mean an all-out upheaval in Serete. So as the head captain, as like obviously Uehara, as the smart people begin to make a plan, they're obviously going to have to keep it under wraps. But this is why I think it would be extremely fun, because we'd have obviously anyone that likes Ichigo, Uryu, an extremely strong being. Anyways, anyone that likes Ichigo, they're going to do their part in trying to save Ichigo. Now, how do we save Ichigo since he was the one that chose this outcome? Well, the characters would have to find a new lynchpin. Now, guys, I want to know in the comments below, how do you think they could go about creating a new linchpin because like it'd be like an Indiana Jones style type thing. Like, yes, you could take the treasure, but you're gonna have to slide another treasure in its spot so the booby trap doesn't roll per se. So, for example, they're gonna have to obviously find a second candidate for a Soul King other than Ichigo, and then switch them with Ichigo, obviously, before all three worlds can fall apart. It's a huge mission. It'd be extremely fun to see animated as these plans come together. Now, obviously, they would go to someone like Mayuri Kurasuchi and be like, hey, can you put like all your talents into like trying to create or research the Soul King, lynchpins, how it all works. And so the research and development department, they'd be doing their thing. Obviously, Uehara would be doing his thing. Everyone would be doing their part to get ready for this massive rescue plan to go in and not just rescue Ichigo, take on Squad Zero per se, and then change out the lynchpin. Because Squad Zero, obviously, they're not going to, like, Ichigo's the pin, the world's back to normal. They're not going to risk changing that. Even if Kuraku did approach Ichibei and was like, hey, we created a second lynchpin that we can replace Ichigo with, we can take Ichigo out of his suffering and bring him back to us, and Ichibei would be like, no, like, I can't let that happen. Like, the world's already almost crumbled. Ichigo made this decision. It is set in stone. So just like in Can't Fear Your Own World, Kuraku, Head Captain Kuraku, would put together a team of elite fighters, captains, Arankar. Like I said, anyone that's interested in saving Ichigo, Uryu, man, I love Uryu, and it would be so fun to see him storm the Royal Palace again, but with the good guys. Anyways, I digress. Kuraku has put together this team, and like I've mentioned, he's got all the smartest people working on creating some sort of lynchpin. Now, obviously, I say that lightly, but creating a new lynchpin to hold all three worlds together is an extremely hard task. They don't come around very often. Obviously, we only know of 3 or 4, and we're going to get into that later on down the road, but more or less, between Uehara and the smartest minds, Mayuri Kurasuchi, they would come to the conclusion like, hey, Ginjo Kujo, like, this man could operate as a linchpin, and who knows, maybe they could, approach Ginjao and be like, hey, you need to do this. Like, I know it's going to be tons of suffering for you, but, like, look, you were a villain. Like, look what you put Ichigo through. Like, you need to pay your amends and go and save that boy. So anyways, however they do it, that'd be a whole nother video on its own. But they would convince Ginjo Kujo to become the new linchpin. And now, tell me in the comments below, guys, am I missing something? I don't think Hikone was even a thought at this point. And obviously, we know that she could be a Soul King candidate. But as of right now, the only one I can think of would be for this story would be Ginjo Kujo. So he would be part of this team. They would talk him into becoming the new linchpin. Yes, I know it's tragic for Ginjo, but, like, he did put Ichigo through hell. So, like, it's the least he can do. So more or less, like I said, Kuraku has put together this ultimate Ichigo rescue squad to go and storm Squad Zero and more or less save Ichigo and replace Ginjo as the new Ginjo would become the new Soul King. Now, I know that's a whole lot to track, but it would be extremely fun to see all these characters interacting. Now, like I said, it would take some time. Could even take years, who knows? But eventually they would put a plan together, and even if it wasn't Ginjo, I think they could somehow replicate a Soul King candidate given enough time, research, just diving into everything, and they could, between Uehara and Mayuri, they could probably put something together. But for story's sake, like I said, we're going with Ginjo. Now, tell me in the comments below, did I miss anyone? Can you guys think of another candidate? I'd love to know. But as of right now, we've got the Ichigo Rescue Force heading up to the Zero Division, the Royal Palace, to save Ichigo. Now, I have other videos coming out, certain characters versus certain Zero Division members, and, certain captains versus other captains, so I don't want to go into exactly how I think some of these battles would go, but I do want to explain how much of a spectacle this would be. All the strongest characters heading up in the Tenkuren up to the Royal Palace to take on Zero Division. Because like I said, the Zero Division, they're not, like, yeah, they like Ichigo per se, but they're not going to risk everything, risk all three worlds, the cycle of life and death, to attempt to put this Ginjo guy as the new Soul King. Now, obviously, like Uehara and Kisuke, their research is backed, so like they know it's going to work. But Zero Division, they're not just going to take their word for it. So yes, I do believe this would be a battle for Ichigo. Now, the things we would see, like Uehara's Bankai being activated for a second time. Obviously, Kuraku, or if Kuraku was there, who knows? He may have to like stay behind since he is the head captain. But we'd have Uryu showcasing his antithesis ability. We'd have everyone going off. Now, they still are fighting Zero Division, who it's said in the story that they are stronger than the combined might of the Gotei 13. Now, whether or not you agree with that, what I'm getting at is that Zero Division is no joke. And, like, this would be extremely, extremely dangerous for everyone involved. But they'd all be motivated because they'd want to save Ichigo from this torment. They've got Ginjo on board, but like I said, I cannot express to you enough how insane these battles would be. Ichibe is one of the strongest characters in the entire verse. There's a good chance that he could wipe all of them out. Now, I know that's a little harsh, but we have to be real here. This battle would be absolutely insane. Like I said, I don't want to spoil future what ifs. So as far as going into like individual battles and like how they could go about taking on the Zero Division, I don't want to get into all that, but I do think it'd be fun to see a battle like this animated. I'm always talking about bringing these what ifs to life, and like I've said 100 times, I have voice actors and animators ready. We just need some funding. Anyways, I digress, but this battle would be extremely fun to see. The battle to save Ichigo. All his friends would be there. We'd get to see Orihime showcase her incredible ability. Now, that's a video for another day as well. Chad would be there. Like I said, Uryu, Uehara, and like Zero Division, they'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like, Ichigo made this choice. Like, this is so disrespectful. Like, we need to wipe you guys out right here on the spot. Anyways, like I said, it'd be so fun to see. But ultimately, that's where the fun of this video continues, because I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. What would your plan be to go and save Ichigo? You can bring anyone you want. You can set up any type of plan, just like I did in this video. And do you think it would be successful against Zero Division? Do you think you could come up with a plan to save Ichigo? Now, obviously, this what if was my plan. It was a lot of fun. If you agree with me, obviously, then tell me in the comments below. But I would love to hear your version of this battle. Now, I set up everything else, but if you just even want to explain how you think this battle would go, I think this would be a ton of fun. But the picture is painted. Ichigo had become the Soul King, and we explored an adventure where a Ichigo rescue squad comes and ultimately tries to save the day. Anyways, guys, do you agree with me? Do you think Ginjo would become the next Soul King? Do you think he would be for it? Do you think he'd be against it? I personally think they could talk him into it, since, like I said, he did put Ichigo through a lot. Anyways, these conversations are so much fun, and the anime has been revealing so much to us that these conversations could change. But I thought this was an extremely fun what if to tackle, because we never get to see what happens in that bulk of time, obviously, because Kubo was rushed. So I always think it's fun to like do fun hypotheticals after that moment, just to explore what could have happened. Anyways, guys, this was a ton of fun. I want to know down in the comments below, how do you think all this would go? I want to talk this battle. I think it'd be a ton of fun. What do you think of Ichigo becoming the linchpin? How powerful of a moment do you think it would be? Guys, this what if was extremely fun, extremely fascinating. Anything revolving the Soul King, it's just such a mystery, and I cannot wait to learn more. Anyways, I digress, guys. Be on the lookout for the next what if video, and if you have an idea for a future what if, drop it in the comments on any one of our videos. We'd love to make it happen. I love talking Bleach, especially with you guys. This one was a blast. What if Ichigo was forced to become the next Soul King? It was a ton of fun. This is Sterling, guys. Have a great weekend. I'm signing out.